Welcome, everyone. All right, we're going to start off by introducing the candidates and bringing them on stage. We do want to start right now with Stamford Chief Financial Officer Mike Handler.
Next is State Representative Prasad Srinivasan.
Former U.S. Comptroller General David Walker of Bridgeport.
Attorney Peter Lumage of Fairfield.
Westport technology entrepreneur Steve Obsitnik.
And Trumbull First Selectman Tim Herbst. And so I think we're ready to begin.
They have the opening statements first. Everyone gets
correct.
1 minute. And we're going to be keeping time over here.
Representative Srinivasan is next.
Good evening, everyone. I want to begin where it all began for me. In 1975, I arrived at Kennedy Airport. First generation immigrant. $7.50 here in my pocket. My mission is to revive Connecticut and make it prosperous again. And my vision is that each and every one of us have an opportunity to succeed.
Thank you, Representative.
To me, it is a calling, it's a privilege to be here with you this evening.
All right, we're ready to start our questions.
Candidate Bob Stefanowski came out this week. He's not here tonight. He said that if he was elected, he would eliminate the state income tax over 8 years. That has been promised in the past by other candidates, and it's never happened. Since the income tax raises $9 billion a year, do you favor eliminating the income tax? And tell us, if you do, tell us how that could be done.
Eliminating the income tax. Of course, we all want that. Saying no to eliminating income tax is like saying no to motherhood or apple pie. It doesn't go that way. But we've got to do it the right way. We have to do it in a logical, responsible way. We talked about our state having a revenue problem or a spending problem. We said it is a spending problem. I think it's both a revenue as well as a spending problem. Look what's happening to businesses leaving our state. People leaving our state, that's where our revenue issues are. Again and again, we are told our revenues are not in alignment with what we expected, and we are back into mitigation again. And sure enough, we're going to do this in this session as well. We've got to do logical steps. Constitutional spending cap. We had agreed upon that when we said we were going to have the income tax. But guess what? This legislature does not have, the present leadership does not have the moral authority to do what is right. We need a total, complete constitutional spending cap. We need to be sure we are within our bonding limits, which we never are. We always are thrilled we are under, but we can't afford to bond anymore and kick that can further down. Our pension obligations are out of line. We have got to restructure. We have to learn how we can tighten the belt and make our state prosperous again. Logically, step by step. Eventually, I hope the day will come, like it did when I moved to Connecticut in 1980. There was no tax, there was no income tax, and guess where we are? And I hope before I retire, we will be able to say no taxes in Connecticut, but it has to be done logically and in a very systematic manner. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to our second question now, and Representative Srinivasan, you are first, actually. This has to do with the state budget. Everyone talks about cutting spending, but can you give us specifically 3 agencies that you would cut as governor? And again, please be specific.
Thank you, Jen, for that question. Your question was agencies that we would cut. I think the answer, rather than agencies that we cut, our agencies have to be run efficiently. And that's not just 3. Each and every agency has to be done and run in an efficient way. We just heard the horrors that are happening in Whiting Forensic. We have heard the physical torture. We have heard the physical abuse. And look at all the financial crisis that is happening there under the watch of CVH and Whiting Forensic. That is an example where I would say we need to make sure those agencies are run efficiently. As ranking member in public health, we have requested and we demanded that we have a public hearing to hear about the financial atrocities, and the first step has happened, and hopefully we will continue addressing those issues. Look at our pension obligations. What goes into the pension contributions? What goes into the pension calculations have to be revisited. We cannot afford that anymore, where people just stack up in the last few years of their service, excess amount of income, and all that goes into the pension calculation. One of the things I would definitely look into as a governor is capping the pension benefits. I've heard again and again individuals who make in the ballpark of about $60,000 to $80,000 on an annual basis. Their take-home pay at the end of the day with overtime, mandated overtime, is $250,000. And that $250,000 goes into the pension calculations. So the inefficiencies that we have rampant, agency after agency after agency, is what I would go after, not just 3, but each and every one of them. Businesses tell us again and again, it is regulations, excessive regulations, mandates, excessive mandates that throttle them, do not give them the confidence to keep these lights on and the doors open. That is what we need to address. We do not need to be as regulated and as mandated as we are. Businesses need a predictable environment. They need to know what's going to come down the pike, not just today and tomorrow, but for the next 6 months or the next year. It just shows where we are as a state when our business industry associations, they cringe when the state is in session because they never know what's going to come down the pike. That is the attitude we have to change. How can we encourage businesses to come to Connecticut, to stay in Connecticut, and to grow in Connecticut if we are not able to give them the confidence? Businesses tell us again and again, we do not have adequate workforce. It might come as a surprise to some of you, but it is not. It is reality. So from the school system all the way to a career, we need to make sure we address that we have adequate workforce. We have talent in our state. It is a beautiful state. I definitely agree with you. It's a gorgeous state, a state I want to live, and a state that I want to retire in. But what do our millennials tell us? That they get educated here. Look at Yale, look at UConn, Quinnipiac now, wonderful, wonderful graduates. But what happens to them after they graduate? How come they leave us and do not stay back in Connecticut? Those are the concerns we have, because that's the sum total. businesses leaving our state, the big names that were mentioned, in their exit conversations, they told us, along with the cost of doing business here, it is the inadequate, talented workforce that they have. We need to address that. Cost, step by step, in a logical way. But right away, we need to make sure we have the workforce that our industry requires so they can continue to grow here. That's what I would address when elected as your next governor.
All right, this next question, it has to do with legalization of marijuana. Democratic candidate Dan Drew is calling for the legalization of marijuana, and some in the legislature have said it would raise millions of dollars annually. What is your position on legalization?
Just last week, or maybe 10 days ago, there was a discussion, a debate on legalization of marijuana down at Yale. And a lot of us were there at the podium that evening. I happened to be the only Republican that showed up for the debate. And you can imagine who all shared the stage with me. And I was very happy and thrilled that, opposing as I did, constantly, consistently, for almost an hour and a half of that debate, I was not thrown out, I was not booed. Because you know what? Legalization of recreational marijuana is not the right thing to do. We have to look at the public health impact on the developing brain. At the age of 25, the brain is still developing. And here you are legalizing a drug, something that's going to have a huge impact, societal impact on all of us. Public safety. Can you just imagine the impact of driving under the influence of legalized marijuana and alcohol, the combination of the two? We have no system. We still don't have a way we can measure THC levels. So we don't have that yet, A. B, even if we have THC levels, we don't know impairment. All it gives you is a static number. That does not mean whether you're impaired or not. And you can just imagine, if you are impaired under the use of marijuana, and just visualize this. How would you like to come to my practice and get your allergy shot from a nurse who is moving around, a little impaired, and ready to give your injection? Would you want that nurse, he or she, to administer that injection to you impaired under the influence of marijuana? Look at the impact it's going to have on our society. And of course, the criminal component. You don't know how law and order is going to react to that as well. Just the day after we had this intense debate at Yale, the very next day in Colorado, in the state of Colorado, which, as you all know, has legalized, a county in Colorado is suing the governor for the increased number of fatalities on the road because of legalizing marijuana. We've got to wait. We've got to learn from other states, including Massachusetts, which has approved it, as we know, but has not implemented yet, pushed out the date to June of this year. They are also waiting. Let's not rush into something where we do not have enough information on the long-term consequences. And for those who believe it's a revenue windfall, it is not. It's $61 million. That's what the Office of Fiscal Analysis tells us. That's all we're going to get. $61 million, and you can just imagine the societal implications of $61 million. It is definitely not the way to go for us here in Connecticut.
This is regarding casinos. The battle over casino expansion in Connecticut is ongoing. Now MGM is interested in building a casino in Bridgeport, as you know. Should Connecticut expand gambling to other entities besides the state's 2 federally recognized tribes?
It was just mentioned that in the latest budget, the Democrats and the Republicans came together and voted on that budget. I want to make sure we all are clear on what budget we are talking about. There was a budget that we passed, the Republicans passed, that was vetoed by the governor. And then there was a budget that was passed, which was, quote unquote, a bipartisan budget, and I did not support that budget. I did not vote for the budget because I know that is not the right direction for our state to go. We call them casinos, but right now they're actually entertainment centers. They are actually places people take vacations and take families as well. So we've got to rethink of what we call as a casino, number one. But my concern is not about casino expansion. I'm thrilled that Bridgeport is considering that. We need to vitalize our cities, no question about that. But we also need to keep in mind our relationship, the contract we have made with Compact and the tribes, that we will not allow casino expansion in our state, because then we will lose the revenue, the $250 million that we get from slot machines. So we just want to keep that in mind before we go into expansion of a casino or an entertainment center.
Did you support the post-Newtown gun control bill, and would you support banning the so-called bump stock device that allowed the shooter in Las Vegas to fire more shots than he otherwise would have?
I am a physician in practice for almost 40 years now. And to me, the critical point on this discussion is mental health. Unless and until we have enough funding and we address mental health, all of these, what we see, the atrocities, whether in our own state and in other states across the nation, will continue. And what we try to do here is law-abiding citizens become felons, and those who don't abide by the law don't care about it anyway. So to me, I would always focus, I would always concentrate as we move forward, how can we, how should we continue to address this big plague that we have, mental illness, an illness that you do not want to talk about, continues to stay in the closet, as opposed to other illnesses. If I, God forbid, I don't, if I have cancer, you are all going to empathize with me. You're going to be supporting me. Why not mental health? That's what we need to address. I would support a bump stop ban because the federal government is looking into it. And I'm going to wait and see what the recommendations are going to be. I believe in law of the land, whether it be sanctuary cities, which I will always oppose, because that is the law of the land. And the same thing here, look at it at a national level, see what the picture is, and that's what I will be supporting moving forward. Believe in the Constitution, the second Constitution, and each and every part of what our Constitution stands for. We've got to look beyond what is just said today, and this reference that I suddenly am going back and forth because I'm running for governor. No. You've got to look at that bill.
Time.
That bill had mental health. That was the reason that bill was so important to all of us. Mental health.
Then everybody has a minute closing statement.
I want to thank everybody this evening for being here and supporting all of us. You heard differences among all of us. And the important thing we got to remember is Connecticut is not only a 203 state, it has an area called 860 is another area code where I come from. And that is critical in this election moving forward. I am not your stereotype Republican. Look at all of us here. You need a message. You need a messenger. The message has to resonate not just with the Republicans. It didn't get us far in the last 2 election cycles for governor. You need a candidate whose message will resonate with the independents. 60%, 50 to 60% of the state are independents, and bring over the crossover Democrats. That candidate is me. Give me your voice, give me your choice, and I'll be your candidate, your voice. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
I wanted to thank the audience. I wanted to thank the candidates, and
Thank you, timekeepers.
everyone used up their time.